Right, I'm back. I have to confess, I haven't done it all the way across. I got distracted by a rug. That's a different story. But all this is basted down now. So what I want to do now is just show you. I was going to say, I'm going to show you how I would approach securing all this and working on the seams. And then you've got your other areas to do with as you wish. But I've got a feeling, this is what I was going to say, I've got a feeling that I'm going to just want to go mental on this straight away and titivate it to death. So really, I guess it doesn't matter if you do your seams and you're titivating at the same time. And like I said, what you could use this for, this could be the back of a pin pillow perhaps, or you could use it, like I said, as a page in a book, because if you imagine, and I'm going to use this book after actually, but if you imagine, say this is a book page, which it is, and you mount it on this, you wouldn't have all this white, I guess, but if you imagine mounting something like that onto here, so it could be a page, it could be a backdrop for work, you could put something on it. Again, I haven't got anything. You could put something on it. Just let me turn around and have a look what I've got in here. I don't think I've got anything little in here. Anything little. Hey, what I'm thinking of is something. Just let me stand up. I'm so disorganised, aren't I? But then very often what I'm going to say doesn't come into my head till 30 seconds before I say it. So I'm often not ready to... right, so I have got something. I have got something, see? When do I ever let you down? Right. So let's say... Oh, I don't sit on it, can I? Just let me take it out of here. So imagine this is all beautified and titivated, and it's a page in your book. Then you could mount a sample on it that lifts up. Okay, so really what I'd really like you to get from this though is how amazing it is to create your own surfaces and your own backgrounds rather than everything just going on bought fabric or plain fabric. It's lovely to just create your own, because like I said yesterday, we could all have the same stuff but none of them would be the same. So I'm going to do white. I'm trying to keep it white apart from that pink. So cotton embroidery, sharp needle. Now I'm quite liking loopy, taken from the gouache stitch. Did I do this with you already? I think I did. I know I did gouache stitch, but I'm talking about the loopy. I think we have done it. I might just do a bit of loopy along here. And then really, the world's your oyster, you can do whatever you want. So because it's not gouache stitch, I've put a knot in it, alright. If you remember with gouache stitch, you start with the little tail sticking up on the front, don't you? So I want to do a loop. I'm going through this bit, the bit underneath, and the base fabric there. Go through all your layers. Make a loop, and then go down, back down just by where your loop comes up initially, and that's, well, I say that secures that loop, it didn't. Anyway, it should do. I'm not going to pull it again though. So, and I'm not doing them in the same holes now. The second one is going to be separate from that first one. And go down through them all and come up. So with gouache stitch, what you're doing is you're going right the way across there, aren't you, to secure it. But with this one, you're just going down maybe 1/4 of an inch from where you first came up for that particular stitch, for this loopy thing. You can't get the thing around the hoop, I don't know. And I've also found doing these loops, right, that after you've done a couple, even after you've done one, your thread does get twisted just by doing that one stitch, because I found that when I was doing them, the loops were twisting and they weren't sitting like this, like loops. So what I do is I untwist it. So I just hang it upside down and let it untwist. before I do each of these loops after I've done my first couple. So if you're using offcuts, like here, there's really nothing to stitch into hardly. So you've got to be careful where you put your stitch, because you do want to secure that. There, it's quite thick, that area. And come back up where you first went, where you first came up. No, that shouldn't. See, that's twisting that loop, and it shouldn't, because I dropped it to untwist it. Maybe I didn't drop it enough, so I'm going to take that out. The weight of the needle helps it untwist. If you tip it upside down and just let it hang free, the weight of the needle should, in theory, I'm going to do it away from the camera so I can get a proper drop on it. So in theory, that should untwist it. Let's see. So yeah, we've got a rug in the living room, we've got a wooden floor in there, and I have a wooden sea chest that used to be my great granddad's, and it sits on this rug. It's a rag rug, my mum made it, and it gets all full of dust and bits. I'm not dirty, honestly, I'm obsessively cleaning up all the time, so I thought I'm not just going to shake that, I'm going to put it in the washer. Well, there you go. So I had to do the floor, and then I had to put it in the washer, and then I had to clean under the chest, and it just all got out of hand. So that's why I didn't finish this. But as long as I can demonstrate to you how to progress it. Right, I'm going to untwist again, right away from the camera. I'm just turning my hoop upside down and letting the needle and thread hang, and you will see it untwists. And I know some of you probably know all that, and you're probably yawning saying, Karen, I'm not 3. But there are newbies in the group who might not necessarily know that. So there's 4 loops. Go down there and secure it. Go back down. I'll just do one more loop there, because these seams are tiny, don't forget. Make sure you come up through every layer, and again that you go down through every layer. So once you've done a lot of seams on this, you'll be amazed. I didn't untwist it, did I? I forgot, but there, it's alright. I'm usually reminded to untwist it when the loop doesn't sit properly. There. So that's the seam of loops. Right, so go to the back. Do a Henrietta knot. Just noticed from the back there's a pin in there, in that pink bit. I hope I've basted that. I'll have a look when I turn it back round. Yeah, it's basted to death. Take that one out. So the world's your oyster now. So you can do bullion loops, you can do French knots. Now I'm going to say actually what I'll do next. I'll just work on one more seam, but what I'll say is, see this one? This is like the edge of a piece of lace, and it wants to flick up, which is nice. So that bit underneath goes underneath quite a way there. So I can probably secure this away from the very edge. And by doing that, I'm securing that bit there and this top bit. But I'm also leaving that little flick, which is nice. So that will also happen. That will still happen. Hopefully that will secure all of this. Might be a bit tricky when I get up there. But then what I could do, so if I do French knots all the way along here, now there's nothing to say, this would come into the embellishing this when it's all joined together, when all your seams are done. There's nothing to stop you, because I'm not 100% sure I'm going to catch all of this, but I'm going to try. Yeah, so actually I think I probably will, but then you could come and do something along here as well underneath the flick. So you could just run in stitch underneath the flick to make sure that was secure. So if I go across there all the way with French knots, in fact I'll fasten this off now and I'll finish that afterwards this row of French knots across here, and I'll do that running stitch under the flick. So don't forget, if you do just secure a seam and it hasn't caught it all, you can go under your flick, or just let me put a knot in this and turn over. So let's say I was securing, I don't know, that one, and I didn't manage to secure all of that, then just along the bottom, there's nothing to stop you doing a row neat running stitch or a row of French knots or anything. So you can have double seams. I'm quite partial to a double seam actually. They can look really nice if you place them in the right area. So think about that. This is what I'm doing now, I guess. So it's going to be French knots all the way across there, but because I'm not convinced, in fact there's a bit of baste in there, I'm going to have to take that out to allow me to get under that little area of the flick. So what I can do is under that flick just do a very neat row of running stitch, and then I know that it's secure. Now this will be damp stretched as well, definitely, because with all these different weights of fabric and the way it's put together, it really will benefit from being damp stretched, this. So then the flick goes back over that running stitch, but you know that that running stitch is secure. Okay, so that's it really. I just wanted to give you a quick explanation of how I would go about embellishing this, and like I say, the world's your oyster. I mean, how many seams are on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, so much work, but I'm not a person who's into a quick fix anyway. The time consuming aspect of this, and sometimes even the repetitive nature of this, is what I love. It's part of what I love about embroidery. I never ever want a quick fix or a gimmicky thing. And the more you work on this, the more of yourself you're putting into it, and in a year or so you'll come back and you'll think, oh, I remember when I was making that, I was thinking about X, Y or Z, or this was happening or that was happening. So you're not necessarily putting your memories in here, but looking at this in the future will prompt memories, and I think it's going to be fab, and I'm going to work on that. So all those seams, and it doesn't matter as well, so I've done loops there, I could do loops there, you can't not repeat anything. You can use the same stitch over and over again. I mean, you could do them all in the same stitch, that might be nice. It's entirely up to you. So knock yourselves out. I hope you really enjoy that, and don't forget what I said in the first video. Don't see this as a chore you've got to get through to get to this bit. See this as part of the pleasure of the whole piece, as something that's going to be amazing to do and to work with, to actually put this together, and unpin and rearrange as many times as you want. You might be lucky, it might all go down as you want it first time, but if it doesn't, that's normal. Doesn't mean it's wrong, it's normal. You know, aesthetics of something can change depending on what you put on it, so it's normal. I think it's a lovely thing to do. If you set yourself an hour or so, it's a lovely thing to do. And if it takes you longer than an hour as well, I think I've done something similar to this before, and somebody said to me, oh, it took me hours, you were so quick. But don't forget, I've been doing this a long time. You haven't necessarily done anything like this before, so there's no time limit on this. There's no good time or bad time in terms of how long it takes you. Just enjoy it. The main thing is that you enjoy the process of putting this together and creating your own unique piece of cloth. Okay.